Good morning. So, just a little update for you guys, and sharing some things that are on my mind as well that hopefully will get the wheels turning for you as always, right? And I hope you're doing good today. Um, so, let's start off. Let's start off with this. Take a look at this face. Yeah. So, this is our new puppy, and she, as I've mentioned before, she's very, very large. She is hilarious at times. She is also a handful. So, um, and so when we got her, she was said to be from the shelter about 11 months old. So, and I don't know if this is something that's an estimate or what, because apparently she was turned in by her owner because they could not take her to their new residence. So I know a lot of apartments have restrictions on pets and the breeds and the weights and things like that. So really sad. It kills me to have to go through the animal shelter and see all of those poor babies in there, and you just want to take them all with you, but you can't. So I just have much appreciation and respect for those who can and do start rescues. Um, and that's something that's been in the back of my mind for a while too. So just yeah. Um, so she has, as I've mentioned before, taken a lot of my time lately, and it's one of those things where with a puppy, and especially once they get to be a certain age, they they start to have this look like they're grown, physically, but mentally they're still a kid, you know. And I know a lot of us feel that way too. It's kind of like I know, I did anyway when I was back in school. I remember thinking, when I grow up, when all of us, all my classmates, all of us grow up, we're going to be adults, and we're going to things will change in terms of maturity. And unfortunately, it's not black and white. It's not clear cut. It's a gradual kind of thing. And for some people, I don't think that it really ever moves in the right direction. I think they just stay in maturity for a long time. And that's not to point the finger, because I think that um, even myself, there's things about me that I know would be perceived by anybody observing me as childlike, and it's it's just who I am. It's just who I am. I like to. I'm looking at my painting back there. I just love to play. I love to paint. I love to, if I have the time. I mean, I've got so many different craft supplies that over the years I've collected. I know that I could live, multiple lifetimes and probably not get to it all. And so, and that's the thing. that's that's a difference there, in what can bring you joy and what can bring you down. And that is believing that you have to live by a particular standard of maturity to the degree that you completely omit anything fun in life. And and I'll give you an example. Um, Back when I was in school, again, I have this story. Um, there were different mindsets, amongst all the kids. And I know you can relate to this if you've ever been in, a school setting, if you weren't homeschooled, in other words. But the different kinds of kids, you had the kids that were completely into their academics, like, period. They didn't do anything for fun. They were, maybe that was their fun. Let me back up and say that, they were constantly studying. Even outside of school, they would meet for study groups, and they would go and compete in nationwide type contests with their different areas of study that they really enjoyed. And I had several friends like that. And I think that it's easy to look at someone like that and immediately judge and say, well, they're not having fun, like I started to do a few minutes ago. But again, I'm sure that was fun to them. Or it could have been an expectation of their parents and something that was a lot of pressure applied to them via their parents. I don't know. But, and same thing with sports, same thing with that. I mean, you have kids that were in it because they wanted to be, and kids that were in it because their parents forced them to be. Um, and then all other different areas in between, kids that didn't take anything related to responsibility serious whatsoever. Um, and then a lot of us were just kind of middle ground. We were pretty responsible, and did what we needed to do to get through school and took it seriously. And yet we understood the need for balance. I remember even in my young mind when I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school. I can't remember. Um, I had signed up for an advanced, like elective type class for literature because I really enjoyed reading and kind of getting to see some insights into some what I thought were great minds of all these amazing writers throughout history and things like that, right? Just their viewpoints on life, because a lot of times these books were based on real life events like the Great Depression and things like that. I remember The Grapes of Wrath. I remember One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I read that. There's several books. Um, but this advanced class, it was neat and I enjoyed it because we got to have some pretty in-depth conversations and class discussions about these stories. But it was a lot. The workload was a lot. And then when summer rolled around, it was expected of all of us to advance the next year in high school to the next advanced English lit class. And the problem I had with that was the work in order to be qualified to get into that class had to be done over the summer. And it was a lot of work. I mean, you were assigned particular books. And I remember thinking, I love to read. I don't want that love to read to be taken away from me because I want to read what I want to read, you know? In other words, even back then, excuse me, in my young mind, I understood the need for balance. And when I signed up for my next classes, I remember that teacher one day after class, this is right before summer, before it was time for summer and school let out and everything, and we had all signed up for the next year. She waited until the end of class and everybody left, and then she kind of grabbed me and she's like, hey, hang back for a minute. And I stepped out in the hall and talked with her, and she was like, you're the only one out of the whole class that didn't sign up for the advanced class. You're literally going backwards next year to meet, just simply to meet a requirement for English Lit. Why are you doing that? And I just was very respectful, and I looked her straight in the face and I said, because it's summer, and I just want to be a kid. I mean, because you're not going to be a kid much longer, you know what I mean? And I just want to be able to read what I want to read and have fun and, spend my time the way I want to. And the way I remember her responding, I don't remember her being a mean teacher by any means, but I remember her responding in a way that was put off by that. And that's fine. That doesn't matter. But I'm always checking my new microphone. Look, y'all, and I don't really know that I like this sound. I've tested it out, and the sound is a little weird to me. But my larger microphone that I love, I I think it's in my Jeep. I took it with me one day because I thought I would film for y'all outside at a park, but it's not quite warm enough for that yet. So it's still out there in my Jeep, but I think the sound quality is better. But yeah, it's got a little green um, light here. But um, yeah, and so trying to balance responsibilities with um, fun is a challenge sometimes. And let me just say this, I think it's real important to get to a certain place um, in maturing our understanding and perspective on things, that we start to reframe things that we formerly saw as fun and understand that they actually are um, very important and tending to those areas should also be considered a responsibility. Um, and that changes things, that changes priorities. Um, a long time ago, I bought this book. I don't even know when. It was real small and it kind of grabbed my interest. Used to, I was kind of a fanatic about books, and I got to where, I mean, I have always read my whole life until the past few years because I've been so busy with other things. But um, I got to where I would just pick up books and like at thrift shops and even online if I just something was advertised to me and it really or somebody mentioned a book and it really caught my interest, I bought it. I didn't think twice about it, and I just told myself I'll get to it. You know, I'll read it one day, like especially when I retire. So this was one of those books, How to Keep House While Drowning, and um, I haven't still read it, but the other day I found it and I flipped through it, and there was something that really kind of helped me, and I'll share that with you all. She talks about, and when she says drowning, I can kind of gather through reading this that it's talking about like when you get to a particular season in your life where you're just so frazzled because you're either busy, really busy, and or just going through a hard time, you know, like with heartbreak or any kind of life struggles, you know. So I think that's what she means when she's talking about drowning, how to keep house while drowning. But she explains that instead of viewing a chore, a task, um, at your home like this big mountain in front of you that you can't possibly climb, and then therefore you avoid it altogether, and then it winds up getting bigger and higher, and then it seems impossible at some point, you know, because it can kind of snowball like that, right? um, she explains that you just have to pick one thing, one or two things, and then instead of completing the tasks, you just do like a step towards completion and leave it at that until the next day. And that's something that I've never approached cleaning and organizing like that ever in my life. But now having, you know, our new puppy and everything, and I've got, you know, a lot of other stuff that I have on my plate. Um, I'm starting to realize that I kind of do this a little bit anyway, like moving the dirty dishes to the counter and then leaving them until, you know, because I don't have a dishwasher. I have to hand wash. And then leaving them until I can get to them and wash them. So I sort of been doing that a little bit anyway. But when you apply um, that lens, that mindset to every task that feels like a mountain, you know, at your home or anywhere, I guess, then it requires a little bit of effort to try and think of it differently in that manner, but it's really cool and it really helps, just moving things from here to here and creating a little bit of order and organization, you know, as a step one to your process of going through and culling things or donating things or whatever it is. Just think of things like a step one or a stage one, and then make your goal be for that day only to just do that stage one and leave it until the next day. So I just wanted to share that with you all. That was pretty helpful. Um, and guess what? You're here with me for my first sip of coffee. So there's I think she's a therapist that I randomly found on Instagram. And if I can, I don't think I'm following her. I don't remember. But if I can find her, I'll share a link in the description or tell you all who she is or whatever. But what she does is share her unedited life in a way that, and her whole point is to remind us that, you know, what we see online is not real. It's not, it's just not. And I think that for a long time, you know, I heard people talking about how, you know, scrolling online and looking at others, what they call highlight reels, I would hear everybody, talk about that and say it's bad because it makes us feel like we're comparing our average and normal life to this, and then we're making this comparison, and what we wind up feeling depressed and bad or whatever about our life. And I guess that's true to some degree, but I always felt like, no, I don't do that. I don't compare. But I think that these kinds of influences are so subtle that we can consciously say this isn't impacting me in a negative way. I'm not comparing my life, etc., etc. But I think that they can still impact us on some level. So just want to caution you there. But this therapist, pretty sure she's a therapist, she just shows real life. I mean, even down to, a side profile view of her when she's, you know, wearing a camisole and yoga pants, and she's showing, her figure, not angled just right, and cloaked in a, a very flattering outfit and things like that. She's just real. She's just real. And other things about life too, piles of laundry or whatever it is. Spilled milk on the counter, and just real life stuff. And I thought that was really cool and needed. And so I just want to take this time to remind you that what works for you is perfect. And there's even a section in this book that says good enough is perfect. I don't remember what chapter it is, but that's just it. Good enough is perfect. And um, I think that at some point we have to let go of caring, really. It comes down to caring about what anybody, friends, uh, parents, family members, anybody, what they think about how we do things, how we live our life. It's our life, it's your life. And that matters. A long time ago, gosh, I guess maybe 10, 12 years ago, I came across this book, and I'm pretty sure I was walking through a bookstore and it grabbed my attention. I had to get it. And I don't remember exactly how the title goes, but it's an unforgettable title for sure, and a very memorable book. But I will drop a link to that in the description. And this book was a great blend of humor and just insights about that right there, about learning how to not care so much about things that we shouldn't care so much about. You know what I mean? And so I think that we all want to get to the end of our life and feel good about how we spent our time and how we lived our life. And so I just hope that this encourages you. I know it's kind of a shorter message today, but there will be a lot of things in life, not just our own mind tripping us up. Like, I'm thinking, like, literally, metaphorically, it's like tripping over, stones and rocks. And you want your path to be as smooth as possible. You know that joke that's been circulating the internet forever, where it's like, it's a drawing, like a line drawing, like this is how I expect my life to go, and it's like this straight line, like a flat path. And then it's like, but this is God's plan, and it's like all over the place and a big loop, and just it's crazy, right? So, um, in other words, it's really cool no matter what you're doing, whatever task is at hand, or just your day in general. It's really cool when you can get into a flow, a rhythm, and it just feels like it's moving along as you think it should. That's awesome. But there's realistically so much that is unexpected, that trips us up, that gets in our way, that we have to handle. And I think that I mentioned before the four quadrants concept by Stephen Covey. If you want to look into it, it's in one of his books, presented in one of his books. It's a great thing to kind of plant in your mind. I'm thinking like planting seeds in your mind, and then therefore you've got a new lens now, and you can kind of rediscern how you spend your time. Maybe something seems like a fire alarm in your life, but really it's really not. Um, and you can actually just kind of put that away. A lot of things actually resolve themselves too. I've noticed if you just let it go. And always they say hindsight's 2020 is true. When you step back, even when you're doing your when I'm doing my painting and everything, if I step back and if I'm just frustrated with it and I can't figure out what's not right about it, or I can't take it to that next level or whatever it is, if I step away or spend some time away from it and come back, um, create that space there, a lot of times I get to look at it with fresh eyes again. And it's just immediately obvious to me what the issue is or what I need to add into it to make it look complete and realistic or whatever my goal is. A lot of times my goal with art is not realism at all. But so um, just just try and remember this is. See if I can bring it all in for a grand finale here. Um, I would just like to encourage you to say that don't forget that your perspective will change as you go along your path. And that right there should be enough to encourage you to not take things so seriously and just to let a lot of things go and to also prioritize your joy and your peace because they matter a lot. They're right up there, if not top of the list of responsibilities where we should be investing our efforts and energy and things like that, right? So I hope again this has been encouraging. I hope that you enjoy your day. I hope it's a great day for you. And I just thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.